Well, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey, everybody, Cantonese Cat here. Quick update here on the market. Going to talk a little bit about maybe some stocks or some sectors that are showing some relative strength here. This is the weekly chart of the SPY S&P 500 ETF. You can see that it's holding the Tenkan here still relatively well. I'm going to look at a little bit of the daily chart here. You have a little bit of a katana here that was able to push price up and prevent it from going down a lot further. But the only issue that I'm seeing here on the daily is I did have a Gann chart here that was drawn from the weekend, which is following pretty decent market symmetry here so far. Bounced up where it's supposed to bounce off of. I think we just simply got a little bit too overextended here on a little bit of a gap up, non-sustainable move, and we had to come back down and kind of test a few things. So where are we at right now so far on this daily chart? If we end up starting the day where is it right now, then we end up really hitting resistance at the arc, right? So just to be a little bit more cautious, there could be potentially a little bit of a rug pull here at resistance. We'll see. Ideally, I like to see it push through, but there's still a little bit of a gap down here to close as well. So a little bit of a tug of war here between the two. Now, right now, if you look at the QQQ, I think the QQQ is showing some relative weakness here. But we did end up bouncing off of the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud here for the QQQ. It looks like it wants to come back up and maybe re-challenge some of the resistance up here above. IWM still trying to break through the daily Ichimoku cloud, still having a hard time doing it, but you are having a little bit of a bullish cross here being built up, and as far as I can tell, I just want price to continue to be above the 0.786 here. If it continues to stay above 0.786, then I feel okay. A couple of sectors that seem to be doing a little bit better. XBI, it's holding the 0.382 here pretty decently. I'm going to zoom out here a little bit. Look at the weekly here. It's still trying to struggle to get about the buoyant support band. These are the biotech sectors, by the way. It's still trying to struggling, but it's really trying to also break above the weekly Ichimoku cloud here. On the monthly, it really looks like it wants to hold the 0.382 fib. It really wants to maybe challenge the Ichimoku cloud up here above again. And it's just been building a lot of energy. I like the fact that it's basically being supported here at the rising 20. I think that XBI is looking pretty decent based on what I can tell, right? So that's one relative strength I'm seeing. The other relative strength I'm seeing is really the financials. Because if you look at the Gann square here for financials I have since the great financial crisis, it's just been making higher highs and higher lows, and you see how this arc here means something, right? And right now we got through the arc, and we not just got through the arc, but we also pushed through the angle here and really have flipped the angle from resistance here to support. So right now it's just another inside candle here on the monthly, but financial has been showing strength. So yeah, and then another sector that I also find to be showing some relative strength, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about here today, is really the SaaS space, if you will. I'm talking about like software. I'm talking about cybersecurity, things like that. If you look at the stock that I rarely talk about, but I have a position in, which is Cloudflare, ticker symbol NET. I have been building a position really when prices were down here in the 60s and 50s, and I think I bought a little bit more right down here around the 70s. And looking like this, the monthly looks really beautiful, right? You had the bullish band expansion to the upside and downside, 20-month moving average continues to be curling up. Very, very nice bull trend here that's being building up. I think it minimally would go to 0.786. Now that it's broke about the 0.618. I think that is also broke through the immature monthly Ichimoku cloud here on the leading span. A lot of things are looking, really, really nice for this stock. The question is always, are we overextended? And I think based on looking at this, yeah, it's a little bit overextended from the Tenkan here, and it's a little bit overextended from the Bollinger Band, but this still looks like a very, very beautiful bull trend. I think it wants to get to 0.786 before anything, major correction happen. And because if you push through 0.786, then that means like all-time high stuff. I'm not sure if this bull trend is quite ready for that yet, but it's showing a lot of relative strength in terms of what's happening with the market. One to actually feel a little bit better about is Snowflake. Snowflake was able to reclaim the 20-month moving average with this big giant candle here back in November, and it's really basically just flipping the 20 from resistance here back into support, right? And if you're also looking at the Ichimoku, you do have the bearish cross over here, but you're able to reclaim both the Tenkan and Kijun. And on the weekly here, something interesting is happening. You did end up having the price break back inside the weekly Ichimoku cloud, and it's trying to break out the Ichimoku cloud using Tenkan here as support. So I think Snowflake might be flipping the script here. It might be turning more bullish here soon, as far as I can tell, right? Am I still feeling good about buying Snowflake? No, I mean, I don't generally like to necessarily buy a higher low. A lower low here compared to there. But I think it's turning bullish? Yeah, I think it probably is. It's something to watch. And even if Snowflake is doing well, even if Snowflake is showing some relative strength, I think that bores pretty well potentially for a lot of these SaaS names overall. CrowdStrike, what did it do so far? You remember that big giant plummet of CrowdStrike that went all the way back to like $200 here? All it really did was it pierced through the weekly Ichimoku cloud. It basically, if I can pull up here, basically just touched the monthly bottom of the Ichimoku cloud here. That was the immature cloud, right? That's basically what it did. And next thing you know, it came back down and it reclaimed the Tenkan and Kijun in a hurry. It looks like it had a great V-shaped recovery. It has gotten back to the 1.236 level where it got rejected last time. So I think that there's probably going to be some bullish continuation. We'll see how it reacts here at the 1.236. Again, we got rejected again over in December, right? January, we're slowly getting back to it again. So overall, I like the way it looks, and I think that it's probably going to continue to do okay. The upper Bollinger Trend is still expanding to the upside, and you still have a very much of a rising 20-month moving average that's crawling up. So overall, this is still a relatively bullish chart, although I don't, you have like how many inside candles here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It takes like 6 candles over here to break this big giant nasty candle. So we might need a little bit longer for price to kind of break above the 1.236, but we'll see. I mean, even for CrowdStrike, I think it's looking better. Datadog is also looking very bullish, just like how Net is doing, but it just simply got rejected last month at 0.786 because it's a very important fit level as resistance, and the Bollinger Band is also not really expanded wide enough for a price to just kind of go up that much further at this point. So it ended up coming back down, broke down back underneath the 0.618 lock fib here, and it's just kind of hovering in space. It's kind of underneath the 0.618 here a little bit. It's trying to break back above, but it's building up a lot of energy. You can see how they got a big giant wick down here below. So it's looking pretty decent in terms of trying to find support. I actually like the way that these stocks look, and Datadog is one of those examples where I think it's going to look pretty decent here. Twilio has just been incredibly bullish. I mean, after it broke above this big ascending triangle, usually I think there's maybe a little bit of a back test here. It didn't really even want to do that. It just decided to kind of push up, and it pushed up it did, right? It's breaking through 0.5. I think it's probably going to end up grabbing to 0.618 if we end up closing about 0.5 this month. I'm not sure we're going to, because that's a pretty important resistance level, and you're way above the upper Bollinger Band here on the monthly. But overall, I'm not like bearish on it. I think it wants to get to the bottom of the cloud. I think it wants to get to 0.618. I just don't know whether or not the month is going to close about 0.5, and we might still end up getting rejected there at that level. There's no guarantee, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking at with that one. And then you also have ServiceNow, which is just an incredibly bullish stock. Like, this thing just doesn't really want to stop at all. It's just been forming higher highs after high highs after high lows. Does it look overextended? Heck yeah, it looks overextended. Things are way outside, way above the Tenkan here. And whenever I see something like that, I generally don't like to buy, because usually there's going to be some kind of correction through time or some correction through price, like it did over here, right? Correction through price, but things can end up staying overextended for a very long time. You might end up getting punished after price go up even higher, right? And it can end up getting punished here for months after that. So I think the risk here is being elevated. I don't really want to buy this stock here right where it's at. But yeah, certainly something to keep watching. I think a lot of these SaaS names are doing very well. I just kind of want to point them out. Again, I can't go through every single one of them. Somebody asked me to do a few. I just figured I'll do a few and just kind of talk about them real quick. Anyway, the market is open now, and so far S&P 500 is doing nothing. And you have a lot of miners also doing nothing after a big giant destruction day yesterday. Bitcoin's holding pretty well so far. I actually like the way that Bitcoin's looking. If you look at the daily chart here, it bounced right off to the daily Ichimoku cloud almost perfectly. It's having a hard time breaking above the Kijun right above, the Tenkan, the blue line right above here. So we might end up just kind of get stuck here in a range. But overall, if you look at a higher time frame, I like the way that Bitcoin's looking because it really is finding a lot of these support here at the Tenkan, right? And it's at the bottom of the range. It bounced off the bottom of the range, so it could end up grabbing back up to the top of the range here where we got rejected here last week. Again, another way to look at this, another can showing basically the same thing, right? And then another can here show that it got rejected up here around 104,800. I think that's going to be the level that we need to break. But I like the fact that, I dislike the fact that it had a wick up here, both got rejected, but also like the fact that it came back down and grabbed liquidity and was able to find support and demand right down here. So I think Bitcoin's getting pretty close to breaking above this resistance. Once it breaks through the resistance, I think it could go up a lot higher from here. I think 117, 104,800 is going to be resistance, right? And again, I'm going to show you 107 is going to be resistance here as well. And then above 107, you're going to have the horizontal line up here, which is 117, right? Over here, 114 is also potential resistance, right? So you're basically looking at, 117, 114, 104.8, and maybe 107. Those are going to be resistance level that Bitcoin is going to need to break above. Until then, a lot of the Bitcoin proxies might just end up getting stuck in a range, and they may not end up doing much at this point after a big giant destruction from miners from yesterday. So we'll see what happens. Those are just my initial thoughts here in terms of the beginning of the day. Anyway, take care. Have a good one. Bye.